Corp Ryoshu has been one of, if not the best damage dealer in Limbus Company for a while now. Her slashing attacks require little charge to come online, and they hit for massive damage against anyone who doesn't resist them. But with the Valpurgis Act 4 event, a new Charge Identity for Ryoshu has been released. Red Eyes and Penitence Ryoshu, also known as Red Mist Ryoshu, has her own type of charge with a lot of valuable effects. So this begs the question, which identity is better? In today's video I aim to answer this question on the basis of power, value and versatility. But before we start the video, I want to tell you that 94% of my audience is not subscribed. So if you find yourself coming back to my videos, why not scroll down and press the subscribe button? It boosts the video by a lot and helps my channel reach more people. I'm done plugging myself, so let's go back to the Ryoshus. Our first comparison will come in the power category. For the sake of this video, the power of an identity lies in the clash power their skills can reach and the damage that they deal. Nothing more, nothing less. A pure contest of strength. Starting off with Corp Ryoshu, she prizes herself on her second and third skills, which are able to reach 23 and 31 power respectively. 20 power is more than enough to win most of the clashes in the game, but 31 is just crazy. When using the second or third skill of Corp Ryoshu, you're pretty much guaranteed a clash win. You might have noticed I'm omitting skill 1 from this statement, and that's because that skill is absolutely trash at clashing. With a max power of 9, even if you hit all heads, you're going to lose the clash no matter who you're fighting. In terms of damage, Corp Ryoshu's skills follow a very similar trend. Skill 2 deals 55 damage, or over 60 when hitting a low HP enemy. That damage is obviously increased against pride or slash weak enemies, as well as anyone who's staggered, so this number is usually much higher. Ryoshu also has a plus 5 offense level modifier on all her skills, and that increases her damage even further. Skill 3 deals 91 damage, which is once again increased by the offense level, as well as against targets with weaknesses to slash and envy. The large amount of coins this skill has also allows you to easily stagger an enemy before the last and strongest coin lands, which makes the average damage of the attack even higher. The first skill, once again, doesn't do that good of a job. It reaches 25 damage at 15 charge, but that's not even half of what skill 2 can do. Still, it's at least something, and better than a lot of skill 1s in terms of damage. Now let's move on to Red Mist Ryoshu. Right off the bat, her skill 1 is straight up better in terms of clashing, as it can reach a total power of 16. This is incredibly good for a first skill, and can be used to win clashes even against strong opponents late into the fight. Her second skill reaches 22 power with both conditions fulfilled, and that's definitely good enough for most fights. It's one lower than Corp Ryoshu's skill 2, but when you're rolling over 20, this kind of difference is just semantics. Red Mist Ryoshu's third skill is a bit difficult to rank, so I'm going to read off its results for both the normal and the serious Skullbuster. The normal skill 3 reaches 25 power, which is not as dominant as Corp Ryoshu's DD-EDR, but still isn't anything to scoff at. However, this is where it gets real. Ryoshu's alternate skill 3 can reach 33 power, which I'm pretty sure is the new strongest skill in the game, unless I'm wrong, of course. 33 power is honestly overkill at this point, and once again, when rolling over 30, a difference of 2 power changes very little. In terms of damage, her first skill is actually below EC this time, as it only deals 23 damage. Her second skill also deals less damage than Corp Ryoshu, sitting at only 48 damage. The base third skill follows suit and deals only 51 damage, barely any better than her second skill and a far cry from DD-EDR's 91. Once more, the alternate third skill has to come to the rescue. With a whopping maximum of 127 damage, Serious Skullbuster is by far the strongest skill between the two identities. And before anyone comments, no, I did not count the passives as active for this calculation. Red Mist Ryoshu has access to strong passives that increase the damage of her skills. However, that increase is different on a case-to-case basis, and will usually hover around 10%. The passives also don't affect Serious Skullbuster, so I decided not to count them to keep this a bit more realistic. Considering that the identities are pretty evenly matched in terms of clash power, with Warp Corp having a weak skill 1 but a much stronger skill 3 than the base skill 3 of Red Mist, and that Warp Corp absolutely clears in terms of damage outside of Serious Skullbuster, I have to give the power category to her. That being said, there are two more for Red Mist to catch up. Our next comparison will be in terms of value. For the purpose of this video, value means whatever the identity brings to the table outside of their power. Value can be expressed through debuffs, buffs, healing and unique passive effects. Once again, we will start with Warp Ryoshu. Her value is being very greedy, as all of her additional effects increase her combat effectiveness. Still, considering that I just gave her the win in the power category, her helping herself is not a bad thing. Warp Ryoshu's passive allows her to get her conditionals up quicker when you feed her kills in human encounters. Her second skill not only increases her own damage, but also the damage of all other slash attacks for the turn. If you get a kill with the last coin of the skill, you also make sure that on the next turn you can get even more value from slash fragility. Ryoshu's third skill also applies a lot of charge barrier to her and one ally on kill, which increases the tempo of charge teams in human fights once again. This is pretty much it for Warp Corp, so let's move on to Red Mist Ryoshu. And oh boy, she's got a lot of value. Most of it comes from the effects that have to do with her unique charge, Red Eyes and Penitence. With how the effects themselves work, Ryoshu can heal SP very quickly, which allows her to spam Ego at a lower effective SP cost. She also inflicts more bleed with her skills than you might have initially thought. Speaking of bleed, Red Mist Ryoshu can also inflict a decent bit of bleed potency. However, if you have been running Kurakuma Ryoshu before, you will have to look into other bleed count sources, like the Ring Identities, Hook Hong Lu, R-Corp Mersault, N-Corp Faust, and Pekot Heathcliff. In other words, you can easily slot her into any bleed team. Her second skill also gives her haste, which does not require kills, so it can be used on bosses as well. Her alternate third skill also inflicts bind and attack power down, so it can cripple an enemy for a turn after hitting them. Lastly, both of her third skills provide HP and SP healing for Ryoshu and one ally. Serious Skullbuster can heal up to 3 other allies depending on resonance. This means that it can heal up to a total of 60 SP between 4 allies, which is almost as strong as some ego skills that specialize in SP recovery. As you could tell already, Red Mist Ryoshu has a lot going for her outside of damage. She can reliably self-heal SP, inflict a decent amount of bleed and provide healing for her allies without using ego skills. On the other hand, Warp Ryoshu just further increases the tempo of charge teams. Overall, I think Red Mist takes this category with confidence, as her effects provide a much wider variety of buffs for her team. Now for the third comparison, Versatility. For the purposes of this video, Versatility is defined as the amount of teams this identity can slot into while providing more value than other contenders for the slot. We'll start off with Warp Ryoshu once again. Charge teams have always been her kingdom. She works best when given allies that can help her with resonance for more damage, and with the additional charge from Ojes and Heathcliff, the speed at which she gets all her buffs skyrockets to insanity. Warp Corp Ryoshu has been the crown jewel of charge for over a year now, and for good reason. That being said, this is as far as her specialist usage goes. Every other team doesn't really have a place for a character that provides no real value outside of great damage. You can slot her into teams that lack a good 6th slot, but that's about it. Red Mist Ryoshu, on the other hand, has multiple places she can call home. Once again, she can be used in charge teams. Whether you go for her or Warp Corp is mostly decided by the resistances of the enemies. If they are weak to blunt, use Red Mist. If they are weak to slash, use Warp. She can also slot into bleed teams. Bleed helps her second skill reach full power, and some of her coins can inflict good bleed potency with the help of the Red Eyes effect. As I've said before, there are plenty of identities that can take care of bleed count for Ryoshu, so she is able to be used in bleed teams without taking away any value from them. Red Mist Ryoshu can also be used to a great effect in resonance teams, specifically Lust, as she can throw out multiple uses of Contempt or in a row and then out-heal them with Penitence anyways. Much like Warp Corp, she can also be used in teams without a good 6th slot, but Red Mist provides healing on top of her damage as well. Overall, versatility has to go to Red Mist. She not only has two design team choices, but she also works really well as a stopgap for a 6th slot on any team thanks to her healing properties. And with a score of 2-1, Red Mist wins in my comparison of Ryoshu's. However, I want you all to remember that Limbus Company is not a one-dimensional game of averages, and whenever one identity is better than the other in a specific circumstance, you should modify your team accordingly. This is to say that even though I believe that Red Mist Ryoshu is better than Warp on average, this does not mean that she's going to replace Warp on Charge teams forever. Whenever an enemy is weak to Envy, Pride or Slash, the damage difference between the two Ryoshus increases enough to easily justify using Warp Corp once again. Thank you for watching! If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss my next upload. Also, if you have any ideas on how to improve this format for the future, please share them in the comments below. I would love to hear your feedback, as I want these comparison videos to continue as more similar identities are released into Limbus Company. This was Altrenum, and I hope to see you soon. Goodbye!